Oh, welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you guys are joining me for another Christian Perspective video. And this will probably be the last video I do on The Chosen until there's more and more developments that will, come out later. So right now, this will probably be the last one I do. And I'm only doing this one because of how Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire behaved on Twitter yesterday in defense of for The Chosen. And let me just make something really clear. We should obviously be praying for the people who work on The Chosen, right? The producers, the directors, the actors. We want to pray for salvation for those who don't know him, don't know the Lord, right? We want the Lord to draw them to him. And, but they definitely need to do some house cleaning as far as addressing what is allowed to be on set and what you're allowed to wear if you're a set member and things like that, because ultimately it is a Christian show. We don't want this show to be a stumbling block for others. And right now, as of right now, this is providing to be a stumbling block. You've had the actors come out in defense of the LGBT now on Twitter. So they are affirming that sin within the show. So that is a very disturbing chain of events that we've seen take place, and the weak response that The Chosen has given. And of course, this criticism comes from one Christian to another Christian organization, which we should hold each other accountable for. When we see each other struggling or slipping up, we should, lovingly say, "Hey, you need to check yourself here." Because we love you. We want you to spread the gospel. We want you to spread the word. However, we got to make sure our witness is good as well. So before I dive into today's video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to become a member of the channel, you like the new direction of the channel, the way it's going, please consider becoming a member of the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for showing that support for what we're doing here and for what I am doing. So thank you so much for that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this story. And this is the Daily Wire. Jeremy Boring's one of the co-owners of the Daily Wire, along with Ben Shapiro. And he just absolutely lambasted his reporter who wrote this article up, which was very, very fair to The Chosen, and really didn't even hit on some of the more scandalous stuff that we've been seeing, right? And this all goes back to the pride flag being on the set of The Chosen. And I mentioned a couple different times that I think this has been an ongoing issue with The Chosen on the set, because people seem to be way too comfortable with it on the set. And because this ultimately is a political statement that they're making, saying, hey, I'm an open rebellion against God, and I'm not afraid to show it. I'm going to show it on a Christian production as an affront to the one mighty God, right? So let's take a look at the story. Let me pull it up, because Jeremy Boring was absolutely in the wrong in this, and just want to kind of highlight this for a second here. Daily Wire. I don't know how many Daily Wire fans we have that are watching this today, and they do some good work on some of this stuff, and sometimes they do stuff like this, and we're going to talk about this here. So let's take a look at this. This is Daily Wire CEO rages after a writer publishes The Chosen article. This is a disgusting piece, he said, and I'm sorry we ran it. So Daily Wire, this is Jeremy Boring, if you don't know who that is. He also is like the chocolate, the his and hers chocolate or whatever, nut and nutless chocolate. Anyway, days after the hit TV series The Chosen came under fire after a gay pride flag was spotted on the set during a behind-the-scenes feature. Again, it was allowed to be in that behind the scenes. It was allowed. There was an editing process. They decided to leave it in. Either they were comfortable with it, or they were sending a subtle message right before June. Daily Wire co-founder and CEO Jeremy Boring ripped into one of his own reporters for covering the story, calling it gross and a disgusting piece, and lambasting its publication, right? So that was his tweet. This is a disgusting piece, and I'm sorry we ran it, he said. In an article, the reporter Ben here offers a rundown on the controversy and why some people were upset about what took place on the set, right? Unlike this website here, the Odysee, he didn't reveal that the flag belongs to the Steadicam operator, who has pride flags and patches on his camera equipment, and whose pride propaganda apparel and countermeasures can frequently be seen on the set. So it's more than just a flag. He wears his shirts openly, and of course against affront to God, right? The reporter also recounted recent controversy The Chosen had been swept up, including longstanding accusations that the series is influenced by Mormon theology, on account of being distributed by the partner Angel Studios, whose founders of the Latter Day Saints and director of producer Dallas Jenkins' instance on the Mormons are Christians. Boring seems to disconnect it from his own hypocrisy, though, right? He argues that punching your allies for minor flaws is what you do when you're too weak to fight your actual enemies. The sucker punching your allies feels good, but it doesn't help the cause, he said. Yet, in the same breath, he does that very thing. He condemns, publicly ripping into his own reporter, who's an ally, calling the article disgusting, gross, and a stupid reaction sucker punch, low, dumb, an act of weakness, and an example of playing the game of purity death spiral, right? And Boring says that requesting and enforcing that employees not publicly display pride content on set is an impossible standard to hold. But that's silly. If that same person wore a SWAT sticker on their shirt, it'd be gone so fast, right? And suddenly it would be effortless to hold. Employers frequently institute basic dress codes prohibiting offensive content or openly political statements. Instead of gay rainbows or patches on T-shirts, if a crew member were coming up on the job site with shirts that said, "I support gender-affirming care for all ages," or contained a racial slur, or said "F Trump," or featured a nude pin-up girl, would that be acceptable? The rallying cry for the LGBT coalition movement is indeed monstrous, and it's not lost on us how apathetic and a climate we become to seeing their symbols and ideologies everywhere we go. If nothing, for the producers to have a standard of work attire, and at least newsworthy that on a show largely crowdfunded by Christians, this isn't a big Hollywood production, and Dallas Jenkins says this quite often, it is funded by Christians and lauded as a ministry tool by Dallas Jenkins. This standard doesn't seemingly exist, right? So if that's the standard should be God's standard then on the set, right? It's not too much to ask to police it. It's not too much, right? And then take this to its logical end, right? Right now, there's only one, as far as we know, and I think there's others. I think there's more than just one, but right now, we only know there's one person wearing the propaganda on the set. But what if there were 10 people, 20, 50? What if pride and trans flags adorned the entire set and were awash in them as far as the eye could see? Would Boring and others' perspectives remain unchanged? To be consistent in their arguments, they have to be. And yet, we have a hard time believing they would, right? So, again, this is what I said in a different video, is I believe that this is a virus once it enters the body. If you're going to allow it to spread, you have to address this. You have to say, hey, from here on out, we have to have a dress code. We're not going to wear any political statements on our clothing. We're not going to wave any political statements for whatever other things. There has to be a clear line drawn in the sand, especially being crowdfunded by the people who you say is for. You say it's for Christians. It's a ministry tool, they say. But if you're allowing this, you're affirming the sin, right? You can love that person, and by loving that person, you can share the gospel, while at the same time not affirming the sin that they're in, saying they're okay. They're okay just the way they are. That's not the message we want to be sending. It's not okay the way we are. We're all sinners. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. We need a savior. We can't save ourselves. We have to die to ourselves in order for us to be reborn with Jesus Christ. There's a method to that, right? We have to pick up and carry our cross. We got to follow him. But instead, we're saying, no, it's all good. You're okay. You're doing great. They're drowning in sin, but we're telling them they're okay. It's all right. You're good. You're good. I see you. You're fine. Yet you have the life preserver for them, and yet you refuse to be a good friend. You refuse to share it with them. So therefore, you're not a friend. You're hateful. Anyway, that's what I think about it. That's my perspective on it. Hopefully, you guys will chime in the comments. And I appreciate you guys once again. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share it. And I appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you guys real soon in the next Christian Perspective. Have a great one, everyone.